I'm Kat, I play Sims, and I added another occult house to my street. This one is Spellcaster. I changed the shape of the house a little bit for this one. I knew I wanted a tower to put the cauldron in and some of the more occult items. So I changed it to put a tower at the back side. And for a little while I had a flat room as well, but I messed around with it quite a lot until I finally got to what I wanted. I did resize the tower a couple of times, and in the end I decided not to have the flat section down there because it was just too much going on. All I really wanted was the round bit, and I was already going to have a lot of trouble roofing the whole thing. I pulled the tower roof up into what I thought was more of a wizardy shape, and then I tried a couple of different ways to add the tower on the top. I made it quite big in the first place, but then resized it down, and I probably could have gone a little bit smaller again, but I was trying to make room for all of the activities I wanted in there. I cut out a lot of messing around with the roof shapes on this one. It took us forever to work out how to fill all of the space, but in the end I went with a couple of pointy roofs, and I added another round one to the bottom of the tower, just to cover some space. I used the Enchanted by Nature roof texture again, but this time I went for a really bright bluey green colour, and I decided to use Castle Estate kit on all of the walls. I did mostly use Realm of Magic for doors and windows and stuff, but I also used Castle Estate because it had this kind of half occult, half castle vibe to it. I used a few different windows from the 2 packs. I ended up deleting some of them and replacing them. The thing with the Realm of Magic ones was that they had the right swatch on the outside, but it had a really weird red wood on the inside that didn't match. I don't understand why the inside is a different colour at the outside, but honestly it's just standard Sims behaviour, and it gave us a lot of trouble while I was working on the inside. I messed around with the tower windows quite a lot because I couldn't decide what height I wanted them. I tried to put some different windows on the second level, but nothing really fits around walls, so I just used the castle ones again, but I didn't put as many on. And then I added a fence for the yard that was from Realm of Magic and the matching gate. For a patio and path texture outside, I went back to the Castle Estate kit again. I used this swatch that had the moss between the bricks that I really like. And then I went into debug and started doing the landscaping. I used a lot of Realm of Magic for this one. There was some little mushrooms and some lavender plants and things like that. I kept finding odd items that I wanted to use but didn't put them in the end, but I did wind up with a debug fountain and a sort of lamppost outside that I believe you get in Glimmerbrook. I put the usual dark dirt terrain paint around all of the edges of the lot, and then I was pretty much done out there for the moment. I needed to do the floor plan, which I struggled a little bit with, but I started with the tower. We don't have a lot of ladders in the game. I wound up having to use the high school years one that they're supposed to climb out of the windows on. It's like a trellis, because it was the only one that I thought looked even vaguely like the aesthetic of the house. And then the floor plan for the rest of it I made quite closed off because I wanted it to be a little bit more dark and moody than the other houses with the open floor plans. I made quite a big hallway between most of the rooms. I did put bright lights in so that I could see what I was doing. And then I got the interior doors in, which were also Realm of Magic, and I used a really pale wood swatch. I knew that I wanted the entrance to the tower room to be a secret room, so I added secret sanctuary doors to that, and I put a big Enchanted by Nature archway into what would be the dining room, which was where the entry to the tower was. I used the Realm of Magic wood floors, which you don't tend to use a lot because they're very busy. And then I also put in the paranormal one in a pale blue and life and death for the other rooms. I tiled the bathroom with businesses and hobbies, and then with a Realm of Magic wallpaper. I tried putting the Crystal Creations wall in the bedroom, but the swatch on the window was giving us a lot of trouble, so I did change it out for castle windows in the end. In most places I used a pale floral Realm of Magic wallpaper. I used a paranormal one in what was going to be the living room, and then I used an Enchanted by Nature stucco in the kitchen. And I got a Realm of Magic one at first for the tower, but I changed it out in the end for life and death. I added another secret sanctuary bookcase to go next to the wall. I don't love the way the tile because they're at slightly different thicknesses, so you can actually tell which one's the door. And then I put in my dining table, which was Realm of Magic, and matching chairs as well. I moved the table slightly more towards the bookshelves so that I could put the secret sanctuary fireplace in. I got some Realm of Magic artwork over the top, and I put in these lights from Cottage Living that have plants in them that I really like. I used the Crystal Creations rug and just sized it up to fit underneath the table, and then I added a little Cottage Living mushroom chair in one corner and a Realm of Magic mirror in the other one. For artwork on the other wall, I tiled a couple of items from For Rent, which looked sort of patterned and interesting. There's not a lot in Realm of Magic that you can rely on for artwork. I moved into the kitchen and I used the Realm of Magic fridge and stove. I tried to use the counters, but for some reason there's no matching swatch for the appliances, and I ended up having to use white and this sort of pale wood, but there was no blue on them at all to match the appliances from the pack. I couldn't put any counters underneath the window because they didn't fit. I resized the fridge to make it fit the gap a bit better, and I used a Realm of Magic hutch out in the entryway. I put up a Cottage Living shelf, and then I was trying to fill the wall with other similar shelves. I tried the Adventure Awaits one, but I didn't like it in the end. I found an absolutely huge, weird shaped one from the greenhouse kit, and I wound up putting that further in the corner towards the door. I put up some hanging herbs from Realm of Magic that's huge, put a cool kitchen chopping board in, and then I had the other dried herbs, a little wreath, and the pots and pans from Adventure Awaits as well. I just put like a bronzy sink in. When I went to do the tea set from Secret Sanctuary, I realised the hutch was actually clipping into the wall, so I just resized that. I used a little paranormal plant, and then I decided to use the Enchanted by Nature decal on the wall behind all of the benches. It added a little bit extra purple in to match the wall, and it made the whole place look a little bit busier, which is what I wanted. I added some custom shelving underneath the window just so I could clutter it up a little bit. I just added a couple of nectar bottles there, and then I put some soap by the sink and got a welcome mat from the For Rent pack to go by the door. I decided to do the living room next, and I used the Secret Sanctuary frame TV and a Cottage Living sofa that was in the right shade of blue for the rest of the house. I did put a coffee table in from Enchanted by Nature, and then a little radiator. There's a Life and Death rug that I use pretty much all the time, and then a rocking chair from the same pack as well. I put a bookshelf in the corner, and I just used a pale swatch on the Realm of Magic one. I did have to scoot the frame TV over a little bit to fit with that. And then on the walls I added these Lovestruck plant pieces that I thought looked really nice. The paranormal hanging plant went in the corner, and then I moved out into the hallway to do a couple of little bits. I added a chess table for some skill building, and I copied the Realm of Magic chairs over from the dining room. I put in some paranormal artwork that had a blue frame, and I actually put the Adventure Awaits console table in. There's a bit of clutter from the Book Nook kit that I really like, so I used that, the little cow plant from Paranormal, and an everyday clutter chest set. And then I just rearranged them a little bit on the table and used a big Lovestruck mirror above it. I did lower that down the wall, and then I scooted the archway over so that they weren't clipping into each other. I used a big bit of Life and Death artwork to fill the blank wall and a huge hanging plant from the greenhouse kit. I went into the bathroom and used Life and Death for the sink, but Realm of Magic for the toilet, Life and Death for the bath, and then Realm of Magic for the mirror, which had to be brought down the wall a little bit. I always do the same rough size and layout of bathrooms, so I briefly decided after cluttering it that I would try to move it around a bit. The problem is I always forget which side of the bath the Sims get in on, so I tried to put this hutch in, but I couldn't work out whether the Sims would be able to access the bath or the toilet, and in the end I moved stuff around just so that I could have the hutch and put the toilet facing the door, which would be absolutely fantastic in real life, but it just had to be done. I used the Secret Sanctuary gallery wall and then Realm of Magic runners to make a bath mat and moved into the bedroom. There was absolutely no way I wasn't going to use the canopy bed from Realm of Magic in this house. I added a little side table from Paranormal, and then the Comfy Gamer candle and book went on that. I added a dresser, which was also from Realm of Magic, and then I put up a mirror on the wall from Lovestruck and a couple of little Life and Death lights on the wall behind it. I added some little flowers to the top of the dresser, and then I put a paranormal desk in the corner with a Crystal Creations chair and the typewriter from Cottage Living because it fit the vibes. I actually put the rug from Storybook Nursery underneath the bed, and I just sized it up a lot to make it fit, and I used the Realm of Magic artwork on the walls and Crystal Creations as well. To add some plants, I decided I actually wanted to use the huge wall item from Enchanted by Nature. So I got that behind the bed and then moved it forward a bit so it wasn't clipping, and I finally got to move onto the tower. So I used the apothecary table from Enchanted by Nature on the bottom. I added the paranormal seance table in the second level, which I realised I probably didn't have enough room for. I turned the ladders and I scooted the table back as far as I could, but I still have no idea whether this is actually functional. I used the tiny little Realm of Magic floor markings to put under the table, and I just sized it up loads. And then I put in the Crystal Creations Gemology table and a plant from that pack as well. The artwork was from Life and Death. It's the tarot card pieces, which I love, but I hate scrolling through them for all of the different swatches. I also used the Enchanted by Nature apothecary stuff, and then I went upstairs and I finally put in the cauldron, which is what I'd made the tower for. I decided to put the Life and Death family portrait up here, which had to be sized down to work on the round walls, and I put a big giant plant from Enchanted by Nature in and another Realm of Magic mirror behind the cauldron. I used a really nice Realm of Magic rug and fireplace, which rarely gets used because it's so incredibly specific, and then I just went around the house adding a couple bits of extra artwork, and I moved outside for a couple of things for the garden. I knew if the sim had access to gemology items that I was going to have to put the crystal charging grid out there. So I grabbed that and I put it on top of a Realm of Magic table because the Enchanted by Nature ones didn't fit, and I prefer not to have it on the ground. I put that next to the fountain, and then I added a couple of little planters as well so that they could grow the occult plants. I decided to put an archway in from Enchanted by Nature and a bench towards the side. I added the Enchanted by Nature unlockable item that you can summon the green man from. I thought it was nice and magical for the back. I put in the butterfly enclosure because I felt if anyone was going to have them, it would be the Spellcaster. And I just scooted things around the garden a little bit to make it a little bit more satisfying. I put some extra lavender plants in and some Granite Falls blossoms. And I pretty much decided I was done, so enjoy the screenshots. Please consider a like and subscribe.